Joining us tonight to talk more about the life and legacy of Vernon Jordan is Howard University President Dr. Wayne Frederick. Dr. Frederick, thank you for taking some time to share some moments with us about really a giant of a man after a very long couple of days for you. I know that Vernon Jordan was like a father to you. So when we talk about him as being a counselor to the presidents, we count you among them. How do you put into words all he was able to do in his 85 years for you, for Howard, for the nation?
Yeah, I know. I think he was the embodiment of hope. He came from humble beginnings and traversed, a life of segregation all the way to the power corporate boardrooms and the hallways of the White House, but did it with a dignity and always willing to look back to help those who would come after him. And I think that embodiment of the hope, that anticipation of a better tomorrow, is what really underscored who he was, and I think the example that he left us.
Vernon Jordan knew early that he was destined for a life of service. He became a civil rights advocate. He became an advocate for social justice. He worked to change laws, but in the process, he also changed hearts, didn't he?
Yeah, he certainly did. And I think one of the reasons he was so sought after for counsel was because he had impeccable judgment that was born out of lived experiences. And those lived experiences were lived experiences that embodied the humanity of others. And I think that that made him such a very, very shrewd and sage counsel. He would never be judgmental about a position, an outcome. He would deal with the solution. But as you said, he changed hearts along the way because I think he led with love. And I think he dipped his judgment in that type of unconditional love for humanity and for the humanity in everyone that he met.
I've gotten some texts today from Howard alums who said this one was hard. This one was really hard because you and others have said he was like a father figure. And I know you've talked about how he mentored countless young people. I mean, how he found the time to do all of that with everything else that he was doing says so much about who he was.
Yeah, I agree. He was more father than father figure. I lost my father, my biological father, a month shy of my third birthday. And I think I've always been attracted to strong men like Dr. LaFour and Dr. Callender, and now, as we talk about Vernon Jordan. I think what was very different and what's going to be difficult about this is that the way that he touched me was not unique and it also was not exceptional. My daughter laid on my bed last night, and because of some news I was giving her, said to me, "I want to see Mr. Jordan." And she's been saying that to me for the past 12 months of this pandemic. Mm. And she's at volleyball practice now. And when she comes home, the last thing I'm going to do tonight is have a conversation with her, a tearful conversation with her about her grandfather, as she would refer to him. Mm. But the fact that he could touch somebody 3 generations removed from him in the same way that he touched me and touched those of the generations above me just says all that we need to know about the fact that he was not only available, but was accommodating.
He was accommodating. He was accessible. I've heard him say that it's time for this next generation of leaders to take up the baton to serve. What do you think, as he goes on to his own divine assignment, that he was saying to those of us here today about the way forward to a more equitable and just nation?
In his last chapel address, he spoke about 4 old men and the things that they would say. And he started with talking about his own grandpa. And as the Civil Rights Act was being signed and he was talking about the optimism of it, he said that all his own grandpa wanted out of that bill was to be able to use the bathroom inside a warm house rather than outside. And he ended with him being the 4th old man. And what he underscored at that time was patience. the fact that we had to be patient and that he wanted to make sure that he had passed the baton on. And I can assure you that he has passed the baton on as cleanly a pass as you can make. And so we have a responsibility now to run with it with our chins up, our chest out, but at the same time to make sure we stay in our lane and do the right things.
What a legacy. Dr. Frederick, on this, our charter day for Howard University, it is certainly bittersweet that we are remembering Vernon Jordan in this way, but as you say, and as we know, he embodied a life of truth and service. So Dr. Frederick, thank you so much for sharing your time with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.